In 1976, a man named Stomatis Moratis was diagnosed at age 60 with terminal lung cancer. After being told he only had 6 months to live, he decided to return to his hometown in Greece. He surrounded himself with his old community, local produce, and even had a glass of wine to enjoy his final days. But as the years passed, doctors were baffled because he continued to live. And so he lived to be 100 years old.
And I'm still thinking, wonder what?
The question is, how the hell is this possible? Strangely enough, there are 5 towns around the world where it has been happening at an abnormally higher rate than anywhere else on Earth. Scientists have called them blue zones. One of these towns is in Greece, Stomatis' hometown. Another is in Japan. There is one in Costa Rica and another in California. But the original, Zona Azul, and the one with the most records, is the one we are going to visit today. Off the coast of Italy, hidden high in the mountains of Sardinia, is a town called PerdasDeFogu, where this year, of its 1778 inhabitants, 8 are over 100 years old. So we headed to this little town to discover for ourselves what the secret is to having such a long life. Friends, welcome to Sardinia, Italy. I am on the second largest island in the entire Mediterranean. The first is Sicily, which also belongs to Italy, and we have come here, nothing more and nothing less, to be able to visit one of the few blue zones found throughout planet Earth. To put you in context, it is said that the average lifespan of people who live in these areas is much longer than normal. However, the life expectancy sought in these towns is to exceed no more and no less than 100 years. Precisely in the town in Sardinia where I am, it is called PerdasDeFogu. It is considered, by the Guinness Record Book, the place where its inhabitants, on average, have lived much longer. That is why I have taken the task of getting here. I would love to be able to document a little more closely what the secrets are, or even what the living conditions are like in these places that make their inhabitants' lives such long lives. But well, from there, I invite you to accompany me to the end of this adventure and together discover what the island is like where its inhabitants refuse to die. Having said that, let's go there. We just made a brief stop right in the middle of the road because we came across this sign behind here, which, although it is in Italian, is very easy to understand. And if you look closely, it says PerdasDeFogu here, obviously the name of the town, and it says World Record for Family Longevity. And just above there are several logos, but the one from the Guinness Record Book stands out. So finding this sign is more than enough to understand that we are already entering the town. PerdasDeFogu has a world record for family longevity or so, says the sign that we find at the entrance of this municipality. Of no more and no less than 1778 inhabitants, lost among the mountains of the Sardinian province of Nura, approximately 100 kilometers from the north of Kargari, the capital of the island. A world record conquered for the first time thanks to Consola Melis and her 8 brothers and sisters, considered the oldest living siblings on Earth, totaling 818 years. Friends, I am officially welcoming you to PerdasDeFogu. Before starting to give an official tour of the town, I think there is a very important fact that I want to tell you, and that is that the blue zones throughout the planet are only 5. This one is located in Sardinia, Italy. There is another which is located in Greece. Then there is Japan, Costa Rica, and finally California. Over time, several studies have been done, and there is really no secret to living a long time. But it is true that living in a place with very few people, living in areas that are at least far from pollution, and even living on an island, it is said that it can be one of the many factors that can influence the quality of life of people. Regardless of a good diet, the quality of the food, even drinking a lot of water or exercising can influence. But let's say that these are strategic areas of the planet, and in this case, the people where I am is reputed to have the highest percentage of people over 100 based on population density. Once I have put them in context, I think we now have enough reasons to go out and explore this town. Look, a very curious fact that I have found here in the town square, and I think that this will be more than evident to begin with because it is the longest lived town, is that they have posters of the people of the town that have lasted more than 100 years and even those that are currently over 100 years old. For example, here is Vittorio Spanu. I don't know if he pronounces everything correctly, but I feel that by doing this, he is already an Italian who was born in the year 1920. If we do some math, we are in the year 2024. So this man here is currently 104 years old. Here you find another. In this case, her name is Melis Concetta. She was born in 1921, so she is currently 103 years old. Or this other one here who was born in 1912 and died in 2012 at exactly 100 years old. Several scientists have studied the population of PerdasDeFogu to try to find some explanation for the longevity of its residents, ranging from clean outdoors, lifestyle, and a diet rich in fresh vegetables. In fact, the island of Sardinia has been recognized as one of the 5 regions in the world with the highest concentration of centenarians. On the entire island, there are 534 people aged 100 or older. That is 33.6 people per 100,000 inhabitants. I find it very curious that you can find photos of all the people who have lasted more than 100 years throughout the entire town, and where they are is not their official house. That is, they are houses that are found like on the main street, and the inhabitants agree to put it on the facade of their houses to commemorate them in a certain way. And even this mural that is behind me are 3 older people who are talking, enjoying life, and boy did they enjoy it in this town. I am very curious because another of the interesting places in the town is that they have a square called Plaza de la Longevidad, or Longevitat. I don't know if it is pronounced completely well in Italian. I think it will be an important point to understand the people who have celebrated so many years, and I feel that it is also a way for the people to commemorate them. Look, right here we have the sign that indicates it, and right above it, it says it, Piazza Longevito. I don't know if everything is pronounced correctly in Italian, but technically it is this square here is to me that this plaque that you are seeing here is located in this square, which says that is Plaza de la Longevidad, and it says in memory of Consuelo Melis, who was the oldest person in the town at no more and no less than 108 years old. But what is even more curious is that it is considered the oldest family in the world, accumulating 800 years of life among 9 people. Even Consuelo Melis' brothers lived to be over 100 years old as well. She was the one who took the 108, but the others 103, 104, 102, 104, 102, 100 respectively. In other words, think about how you and your entire family can last so many years. And it was precisely this family that made this town enter the Guinness Record Book. Since, as I told you, being such a long-lived family, they were the ones that accumulated many more years throughout history. Hoping to talk to some of the inhabitants of this town, we visited the bar of one of the Melis brothers, the family that has won the Guinness record for the oldest in history. The place is called Bar Biliari di Meli Giuseppe, and without a doubt, it gave a very important twist to this story.
Mezza, tavolo in italiano.
Buffare.
Vuoi bere qualcosa?
Volete bere qualcosa?
Volete bere qualcosa? Ok.
Cosa?
Cosa?
Cosa bere?
Cosa bevete? Adesso.
Dai.
When I arrived at the place, I tried to talk to the waitress because I was very curious to know a little more about the history of its inhabitants, in addition to the fact that there were several Guinness records that were displayed on its walls. Although they didn't speak English and I don't speak Italian, the signs and gestures were more than enough to understand each other as much as possible. 3 more people intervened in the conversation who did not hesitate to tell us more about the town and who invited us to have a drink at the bar.
Cazzai.
Ma digli di intervistare zio, come si chiama?
105 anni.
Quello ancora vivo.
105 non c'è qua in paese.
No, quello
chi?
di Brundu.
E ha mozzato.
È quello?
No, lui è un altro. Lui là è
They told us about their oldest relatives. Here they are showing us the father of the girl who is serving us. They gave us a beer that is Sardinian, and he says he is 105 years old. I'm trying to speak a little English because we're communicating a little strangely in Italian, but they have also invited us to try a Sardinian beer, which is very good, in Sardinia, which is very good. They even gave us a taste of the wine and cheese they make themselves. The truth is that it is very difficult for me to be able to explain to you the entire conversation we had. Well, even for me, it was difficult to understand. What I do take away from all this is that they lead a very healthy lifestyle. They enjoy life to the fullest, and that was evident throughout the conversation. Look, I don't know the secret that people here have to live so long, but I just left a bar talking to everyone without having a clue about anything, with 2 bottles of completely handmade wine and new friends. Well, there you see it. So I think I'm starting to understand where the secret of living so long is. If you ask some of the oldest inhabitants of this town how they have managed to live more than 100 years, the answer always lies in the food and the lifestyle they have led throughout this time. As is the case of this lady and whose mother also lasted more than 100 years.
She said that didn't drink anything.
Or also the case of Luigi, who despite his advanced age, continues to climb stairs and walk throughout the town. Following the conversation we had with the Italians we met at the bar, which made me understand a little more about the conditions that one must have to live for so long. Part of the things they talked about was how far away this town is from nearby civilizations. That is, the quality of the air above all, even the issue of the food itself. And that is what I want to show you right now. That is, we arrived practically a few minutes from the town itself, and you can see everything they grow. I even asked them if the crops they have were for sale because they were somewhat large crops, and they told me no, that they were actually crops for their own consumption, that they had tomatoes, that they had potatoes, that they even grew wine and produced their own wine, even their own cheese. They had sheep, and it was a bit like they were trying to justify the secret of the people who live here. I mean, one of the things that surprised me is that there has always been talk about good nutrition, about the importance of eating every so often. And part of what makes people here last so long is that they eat very little. In the sense that they really eat very little food to last, they walk a lot, they work a lot. So I think it's a game of factors. I think that today they have sold us a lot. Like this thing about you having to eat every so often, you have to do, you have to get. And in the end, the pace of life of the people here and those who last the longest is the opposite. Obviously, we are not exposed to the same thing, but right behind me there is a vineyard, a place where they grow their own wine, artisanal wine that they drink and enjoy. And I find it very interesting to experience a little more closely what those conditions are like. Although I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to meet anyone over 100 years old on this trip, I was able to witness firsthand how longevity permeates every corner of this charming place. Walking through the streets of the town, I could see most of its inhabitants enjoying an active and energetic life. Age did not matter. They were seen taking walks, chatting with their friends, and even enjoying a glass of wine in the local bars. And although it may sound a bit cliché, I really hope to take away even a little bit of that enviable longevity. PerdasDeFogu, with its charm and its long-lived inhabitants, will remain in my heart with an inspiring reminder that every day counts and that we can aspire to a life full of vitality and meaning.